Hi, and thank you for tuning in again to Ellensburg Amplifier Repair and Service. I'm back here with the HIP4080 Evaluation Board. I've been waiting. I did place several orders from different sellers from overseas, so I've been waiting for them to show up. So I got 3 of the 4 that I've ordered. I think the 4th one's not supposed to be until next month, so which is normal. I don't mind waiting. I do this just to use a process of elimination to weed out the sellers that are shipping out bad, defective, mislabeled, rebadged products. So I only use products that I myself have verified as being true and functional, and I do plan on offering HIP4080 services for anyone that doesn't have one of these boards. If you notice in my previous video, which you will see up in the corner here, that these boards, they are expensive to get. They're about $200 if you were to go to Mauser to get one of these boards. And then of course you'd have to put together your circuit here to drive the IC. So that's already done. I already covered that in the last video. So my main goal today is just to show you what I'm finding between these sellers. So we got 1 seller, 2 sellers, 3 sellers. So, and you do have the scope up in the corner there. So you'll see here on this particular IC, there's no switching. I do have the levels changed on the scope so you can help identify the traces on the scope, so they're not all blended together, because on a functioning 4080 they'll all kind of blend together. But you'll see very clear when you have a bad IC, the lines will definitely not be normal switching. So you will see on this particular IC that it does have switching, but not correct. So what I'll notice is on this particular IC here, it gets hot. There is definitely an internal short on this. It'll heat up quite drastically, even though we have switching. So there is definitely a short in this one. So I would never obviously put that in an amplifier. And that's pretty much true for this whole set here. Is there's seems to be an internal short on these that is causing these to heat up drastically. So this is a 12 volt 2 amp power supply that I have for these, my typical power supply that I use to test amplifiers. And you'll see the channel 1, the yellow channel, it drags down quick. And then I have 2 other channels. Whoop, that gets hot. 2 other channels. So that obviously has a dead short in it somewhere. So it just goes in a little bit of a thermal runaway, and so that IC is done. So I'm going to move on to this seller here. So this seller here has the 4080 AIP Zs. They look original. I don't see any issues with these. So we'll plug this one in and fire it up. And then you'll see some switching there. It is kind of bouncing around a little bit, so I'm not quite sure. I would have to do further testing on this particular IC, but it does bounce around a little. I don't know if that's just an internal fault with it. So let's move on to another one from that same seller. And so you're switching there at 325 hertz, which is my input signal is 325 hertz. So these are switching okay. And of course these are just my first initial rough tests. So these seem to be okay. I've ran through these and double checked these ICs. I'll just throw one more in from this seller here without bending the pins, possibly. Ah, there it goes. It falls right into place. Alright, so then we'll fire this one up, and there you go. There's 325 Hertz there for you. Good clean switching. So this seller here, I had one IC from that seller that had one bad channel. So 9 out of 10 for this seller isn't too bad. Now moving on to this seller. So this seller I questioned right off the bat. I think I've talked about this a few times in my videos. This IC has absolute square corners. I can't say that it's been sanded off, but I don't believe that this is going to be a genuine 4080, because if you look at any other 4080, they've got the nice rounded edges, nice rounded corners. They've got their pin 1 mark. These don't have their pin 1 mark. I mean, sure, I've got a couple from this seller that have a pin 1 mark, but they look a little shallow. Like this one looks a lot more shallow than this one. So I do believe these are going to be fake, not genuine, or faulty. So I'm going to go ahead and install this one into the socket. Go ahead and apply power. And sure enough, one channel doesn't work. As I was saying, I do believe these are going to be probably either mismarked to the 40 as a 4080, which should be marked as a 4081. I do have a whole set that I got that are labeled 4080s, but they're actually 4081. So if you hook them up as a 4081, both channels will switch. And that's this seller here, and all the ICs I got from this seller respond the same way. So I'll put another one in from that seller, and it responds the same. So these are all the same ICs here. These are functional, and these have some form of short. So out of the $100 that was spent, I have 9 good ICs. So I have 9 good ICs out of 30. Actually, one of the sellers only had 9. So out of 29 ICs, I have 9 that are good. So that pretty much wraps up what I have for this. Just giving you an idea that if you buy 4080s online from overseas, that your chances, you have about a 10% chance of getting true correct 4080s, which makes these absolutely expensive to the end consumer. Thank you for watching. I do have a new website, ellensburgamplifier.com. That's up and running. If you're interested in anything, shoot me a message through the website. Check out the amps that I have available. And I do thank you for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe and share the content. I will see you all later.